there something Nathan and I have in common that explains why we both became addicts? Is it an illness, or are me and Nathan and homeless junkies just a bunch of spoiled, selfish millionaires? You're called Professor David Nutt.
That's my name.
That's an amazing name.
Yeah, well, what else could I be other than a psychiatrist? Brain scientist.
I don't think, other than a character in Cluedo. Professor Nutt in the lab with a brain scanner.
Yeah, that's a good one.
To get some professional and expert insight, I visited the man I call the Nutty Professor.
And we scan their brains.
You're currently doing studies on that? He used to be a government drug czar, a bloody stupid term. He researches addiction here at Imperial College London.
We're doing the most sophisticated study ever done on addiction.
How?
Because what we're doing is we're taking people with addictions to alcohol, or heroin, or cocaine, and we're scanning them in that scanner to understand what's different about their brain compared with other people.
Say, like, Peter Hitchens, the journalist, and a lot of people, I think, believe that addiction is a thing that people just sort of do. People just take drugs for a laugh because they're weak. Like, and obviously I don't think that, but is there neurological or at least psychiatric evidence that that addiction is a legitimate condition?
Unquestionably, addiction has got something to do with the brain. Most people take drugs. Almost everyone in this country drinks alcohol at some point in their life, but only 10% get addicted. And that 10% are different, and they're different because their brain is different. Our experience tells us that addiction occurs usually through one of three things. One is that people get stressed. When you're stressed, you activate parts of your brain. I've just shown it up here, just this part of the brain here, which we call the amygdala.
The amygdala reacts to stress.
Exactly. And in some people, it reacts excessively to stress. And we know that drugs, like alcohol, can dampen that down. And so many people become dependent on alcohol because they use it to reduce stress. The second is that people get pleasure. They start to do something which is enjoyable, and then they start to take the drug to reinforce that. That comes from another part of the brain. That comes from this part of the brain here. It's an area of the brain which has a lot of the transmitter called dopamine. Dopamine gets you going in the mornings. If your dopamine's not working, then you're stiff and flat. And the third is that some people are just very impulsive. Impulsivity is actually a very straightforward behavior, which we can model in animals, for instance. And it turns out that when you have a very impulsive rat, it has alterations in the dopamine system in the brain. Because what you do is you tell them that when a light comes on, they will get a reward if they push a lever.
Light goes on, 5-second wait, food.
The impulsive rat can't wait for 5 seconds.
So it just goes, fucking hell, where's my reward?
Exactly.
It's been 3 seconds!
There you go. And you can find that about 10% of rats are very impulsive. And those rats are interesting because they like cocaine. You give them cocaine, they take a lot more than the other rats because they have a deficiency of dopamine.
They have an inherent deficiency of dopamine, which this cocaine redresses.
Exactly. So it fits exactly with the human situation.
Well, the thing is, when you said that thing, like, it made me laugh out of identification. That I know that, like, I remember from just when I was a kid, if someone goes like, look, you've just got to wait a little while, Russell, I went, no way! Like, it was inconceivable to me to do that, like a pain, like a roaring existential pain that I would not tolerate. And it's that rat-like reaction to drugs that makes me one of the 10% of the population that cannot use them recreationally. We can do things differently in policing and prisons that save money and lives. Brilliant. This is the message I want to take into Parliament, where I've been asked to give evidence before the Home Affairs Select Committee, which has been investigating how effective drug treatment is in the UK. They've taken evidence from all kinds of experts, and now they want to hear what Chip and me think from inside the problem. Ex-addicts in recovery. This means I am a type of expert. This is an amazing experience.
What is incredible is that it's 9.5 years ago, you were a mess. And now,
we're in
still
Parliament.
a mess.
Still a mess. But look how nice I look.
Oh, I know.
We're in Parliament.
They've invited us here.
Yeah, we've not broke in here.
No, 2 junkies have been invited into Parliament.
There you go, we're just a couple of junkies. Yeah. For me, it is vital that more addicts get the relevant information into recovery, change their lives and become drug-free. Of course, Amy's death is tragic, but if we use it as an opportunity to review and reassess the way we treat addicts and addiction and alcoholism in this country, then it hasn't been entirely in vain. So her death is sad, but it might not feel so pointless.
Hello. You're a former heroin addict.
Yeah.
Briefly, could you tell us how you got onto drugs and then how you managed to come off it?
I was like sad, lonely, unhappy, detached, and drugs and alcohol for me seemed like a solution to that problem. If you have the disease or the illness of addiction or alcoholism, the best way to tackle it is to not use drugs in any form, whether it's state-sponsored opiates like methadone or illegal street drugs or illegal substance like alcohol. We see no distinction between these substances. What we believe in is that abstinence-based recovery is the best solution for people suffering from this condition.
Now,
was that brief enough?
Very brief, thank you. You were arrested roughly 12 times.
It was rough, yes.
You say there needs to be a carrot and a stick, would you?
I don't think there needs to be a carrot or a stick. Both of those things seem like bizarre metaphors. I think what there needs to be is love and compassion to everybody involved. You need to, if people are committing criminal behaviour, then it needs to be dealt with legally, but you need to offer them treatment, not simply out of some airy-fairy that's all old hands and hug liberalism, but because it deals with the problem and it prevents further crimes being committed.
Having gone through addiction and then rehabilitation, what is your message to young people who want to get involved in drugs?
My message isn't for young people. My message is for people that have this condition of addiction. If you have the condition of addiction, there is help available for you. We need to start regarding addiction in all its forms as a health issue as opposed to a judicial and criminal issue. That we need to change the laws in this country and we need to have a more compassionate, altruistic, loving attitude to the people with the disease of addiction and recognise that these people with the proper help, access to the proper treatment, can become active and helpful members of society, like myself, some would argue that point. We need to offer them treatment and activate them and incorporate them into our society. So the message is ultimately one of pragmatism, altruism and compassion in all areas of the condition.